Washington Post ABC News poll finds that by a 2-to-1 margin, Americans prefer Obamacare over the Republican replacement plan. Lee, do people really know in this country what's in this Republican replacement plan? Because it's changed so much, and then you have this Ted Cruz amendment, which is it's about the plans that health insurers are allowed to sell. They're allowed to sell bare bones plans if they also sell plans that fall in line with the Affordable Care Act. Again, not messaging.
No, there's absolutely zero messaging on behalf of the Republican Party right now. All they're doing is saying that Obamacare is a disaster. They're not telling us what is in the plan. And I think one of the biggest problems is people are now they're getting afraid that they're going to lose access to care. And so if the Republicans were going to be smarter about messaging, they would say, look, these are the principles that we're trying to adhere to. One, that we're trying to make care more affordable. Two, that we're trying to get government out of it so we can get higher quality care. Three, what are the principles that we can all agree on so that there's not this fear that we're going to lose care altogether, because the Democrats really are doing a much better job at messaging Obamacare than they ever have done before. And I think it's really unfortunate because it's not that hard to do. It's going to take some discipline. It's, you know, even if they're going to be fighting about what's in the plan, if they were talking about the principles on what they're fighting on, that we can all agree on, then we'd be having a totally different conversation than we are right now. And it's
well, there's no principles. I mean, we've seen that come out of the debates.
You just read my mind.
Yeah.
I was saying that on Friday. There are no principles in this. Again, I always thought that conservatives and Republicans stood for lower taxes and repealing a lot of those tax increases in Obamacare.
Yeah, but
they're not doing it.
You know what this is? This is a central plan, what they've come up with, you know, and it leaves no room for new innovation, right? Because the taxes are still there.
3.8% investment income tax on higher earning Americans, the 9 percentage point payroll tax in there. The Cadillac health care tax is still in this plan. The 40%
you know
excise tax.
What's fascinating is we're seeing 3.8% tax on the higher earning Americans, but actually that's individuals who make $200,000 or a married couple that makes $250,000. You know what that is? That's a school teacher and a firefighter that live here in New York City.
Right.
Are they wealthy? But they're going to get that tax still. So this doesn't give new innovation. It stifles competition. And it doesn't let genuine market forces go out there. And that's what Senator Rand Paul is calling for. He's saying, why can't we get a co-op of kind of an insurance mutual fund where they can go and negotiate prices together? And we didn't get that. This is just Obamacare light, and they know that.
I was highly critical of Rand Paul early on because he seemed to dig in his heels immediately and said, I'm not going to vote for anything that isn't just a full repeal. But now I know why he did it. Yeah. Because he saw all of these moderate Republicans who were basically on the take with the Medicaid expansion, like John Kasich and Rob Portman, the senator who represents Ohio, the governor of Nevada. You have Dean Heller in Nevada as well. And I just point to these moderate Republicans seem to have gotten in this bill what they wanted. They wanted expansion on the spending on opioid treatment. $45 billion, which is 40 times more than what President Obama wanted. And they're still not willing to step up and at least vote for this, or they're still not willing to commit to voting for this Senate health care bill and moving it to debate. I just find that mind-boggling.
No, it's completely unbelievable. And, you know, we had Ron on here, Ron Paul and Rand Paul. There are all these spending bills that are included in this, and that we're just not fixing the problem. And it's just delaying it, and people are more and more confused, just going to what you said. And all people know is that coverage is being removed from some people that got Medicaid. And that's a problem. And we're going to bankrupt this country.
I think the important thing...
all it does is slow the spending in Medicaid. And it tries to...
It slows it, but here's the problem. The messaging is that 23 million people are going to lose coverage.
That's right.
They're not talking about how it's slowing the Medicaid growth. They're not actually cutting Medicaid. So I think you're bringing up a good point. But the main thing, when we go back to the original question about messaging, think about this. President Barack Obama got up and said, listen, 23 million people are going to get health care coverage. It's been less than half of that, right? So they haven't gotten the coverage, but the messaging is people are going to lose coverage under the Republican plan.
And, you know, the bottom line, too, is if the Republican strategy, let's just say they're trying to say, let's get a plan that we can actually pass, and so we'll keep some of these taxes in, so maybe Democrats will vote for it. It's not happening. There's no negotiation. They're not getting any credit for these kinds of things, so they might as well put something out that is ideally what they want and start the negotiation from there, because they're simply not going to get credit for anything that they're trying to do to deliver something that the Democrats might vote for.
These are literally Republicans who are standing behind tax increases and more government spending for Medicaid, for an entitlement. They're not with entitlement reform, and they're not for tax cuts. And I don't know how this plays out for them next year, because the Democrats can actually use that against them, strangely enough.
Well, of course they can, because now this is the Republicans' problem. This is no longer Obama's problem. This is the Republicans who for 7 years have said this isn't the right plan, and they can't get it together and sell a plan that's going to work for the American people, in the mind of the American people.
Here's the scariest thing about the Republicans, that the Obamacare was built on a lie. If you want your plan, you can keep it, right? We're going to give you cheaper and better plans.
No,
and guess what?
Right.
They're taking that. The Republicans are taking that and going to own it, and it's going to get worse.